technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You know, this guy is the mad scientist. I mean, he's all about green density. So in my mind, I feel like he's going to have the green speeds dialed in, and the angles needs to land them and all that sort of stuff. I feel like he's going to be a good spot and playing the course well. And he's going to be hitting less club into a lot of these par threes too. So I just, we're talking about using a live guy. I love Bryson this week. I'm riding with Bryson.
Only on SportsGrid.
This new sports integrity partnership, Genius Sports, is involved in this. More protection.
They said that's going to allow them to beef up their protection and add more integrity monitoring tools to essentially catch bad behavior before it happens. This comes, obviously, after a just ton of scandals we've had across sports betting lately, whether it's the MLB umpire, Pat Hobert.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome in. Live with you on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. It is a Thursday night here on the grid. 2 hours to set them up and knock them down as we have some key Major League Baseball action to get to. And we had an incredible Major League Baseball performance already. Dylan Cease, no-hitter against the Washington Nationals. It has created some movement in the NL Cy Young market, which will be highlighted today. Aside from the baseball world, what you have is somewhat of the calm before the storm. The Olympics have been able to get underway. We've seen some marquee events. We've seen some disasters. I'm looking at you, Morocco, Argentina. What was that? Huh? I mean, that was basically a billboard that said, do not get involved with the Olympics, which we're not going to do. We're going to get involved with the Olympics, but that was crazy. It really was. Today, we've kind of settled everything up. Tomorrow, minimal action. We have the opening ceremony, and then Saturday, we really, really hit the ground running, especially with the Olympic basketball, which I still believe is going to be the most bet on sport at the Olympics. And not just those USA games, which start on Sunday, but also we're talking Olympic basketball involving Victor Wembanyama, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and we're going to get to all of that for you on Saturday. But the big item from today's Olympics, and I do want to just quickly, before we get to some baseball, talk about, I always check in with the Olympics, and we did see the USA women's team win 3-0 today over Zambia. They get the job done. Great start for this team. Now, if you've not been following the U.S. women's national team on the soccer side of it religiously, and perhaps you're kind of checking back and you're like, oh, come on, we win always. We're dominant. We can't be touched. 3-0 over Zambia may be disappointing. Expectations have changed a little bit for this group, okay? Now, they are still the favorites, the USA women's national team, to win gold and get the job done here at the Olympics. But they are not favorites of the like of the men's basketball team or the women's basketball team. This is not a situation where they are supposed to run away with distance. No. Plus 175. Plus money. Right there, neck and neck with Spain. France getting that's again, relatively speaking, short number, right? Again, just using a comparison point, the Olympic basketball on the men's side of it, the second choice to the USA men's, you're getting nearly double France, who's option 3. So you're seeing a big difference here. Now, again, with USA as the favorites, though, this is an important one because what we have here at the Olympics is a situation where the USA is still supposed to reign supreme. They are heavy favorites to have the most medals and the most gold medals, which, again, are mostly unbettable prices. The market, many, I'm sure, will look to bet the USA's medal count is the simple over-under, 41.5, and it is a tournament or really an event, a sport like this, I should say, that is going to make the difference here. 41.5, again, is that over-under for the gold medal count. Again, you kind of see that minus 114 both ways. I know at some points I've seen 40.5s out there in the market, and I do think these will be, I believe at least, that these are going to be active numbers throughout, so we will continuously watch how this plays out. We will continue on Game Time Decisions, get you updated medal counts, gold medal counts, USA's medal count. We will be following it right here on SportsGrid. I thought it was important tonight. We broke in Olympic style and started there. But for tonight, the main event has to be Mets-Braves. Because what we have now is a Mets team that is commanding respect from the books. Look at this series spread number. Minus 125, they get the job done against the Braves. Now, they are home, 4-game set. 2-2 is probably the realistic favorite of how this plays out. But this is a Mets team who just went into a 2-game series with the New York Yankees, and on a triple money line was plus 440 to get the sweep. Well, they cashed those plus 440s. And they not only swept the Yankees in the Bronx, they swept the Yankees over the course of this season. Again, this was a Mets team who at one point looked up at the standings and felt defeat. They thought, oh my, we are going to end up trading Pete Alonso. We are having a nightmare year. Instead, they have probably the most underappreciated player in baseball this season in Francisco Lindor, who is comfortably one of the top 10 hitters this season so far in the National League and didn't make the All-Star team. An absolute miss, all in all. But for the Mets, that's not the priority. It's continuing to stack wins. They are favored to win this series, and a huge reason for that, I guess two. It's not just the return of Kadai Senga. It's Luis Severino's respect in the market against NL Cy Young favorite in Chris Sale. Chris Sale, who goes tonight, minus 110 either direction, on the road, sure, against Luis Severino. You take a look, we've got these Chris Sale props for you here as well. 7.5 Ks. Will he be able to go 6 full innings there? Minus 178 says yes. To get a win, it's plus 125. Not a lot of juice there because everybody would expect he'll make that required innings in order to get that victory. So you see where that number checks in. Over, under, 1.5 earned runs. Look, man, Chris Sale's been a monster this year. No doubt about it. We'll expand on how I'll back Chris Sale in this game in a moment. But I will say one noteworthy thing is, again, the respect you're seeing for Severino. But also, it's a big game here, all right? We only have 2 games left on this baseball slate. This is going to get some type of prime spotlight, I think. And we've seen movement again in that NL Cy Young market. Dylan Cease today with that no-hitter. Commanded some respect. Comfortable 4th choice now on the board. And you know who else got respect this week in the market? Paul Skeens. Listen, I don't move the numbers. I was a little surprised myself. Paul Skeens, off the first loss of his young career, went from plus 550 to plus 350 because he went 8 1/3 innings. Wake up, people. They are not babying that kid. He is an ace. He is a superstar, and he is treated as such in Pittsburgh. Enough with this shutdown nonsense. And the books are starting to catch on. Plus 350 is the Skeens number. Sale enters today as the favorite. Neither of these teams are favored, though, to win the NL East, and that is a bit of an upset, but that largely comes at the hands of the Atlanta Braves. If we take a look at the odds outlook for both of these ball clubs, who, again, right now are playoff teams, wild card teams, you can see the separation still does exist somewhat. 90.5 is your win total for the Atlanta Braves. That's now over double-digit wins away from their preseason win total, which was at about 101.5. Mets climbing, 84.5 now. We're seeing for the New York Mets here on that win total. More importantly, look at this. Boom. Minus money. Now, listen. It's not minus 150, not minus 180. It's certainly nowhere near that huge number on the Atlanta Braves to make the postseason. All right? But we do have the New York Mets postseason number moving. And that is important there to see for the New York Mets. And if this team is in the playoff hunt again, you can't help but think out next year when they try and sell some big free agents on not just, hey, it's New York, and hey, we can pay you a lot, but it's also, hey, we're going to have some winning baseball on our hands. Let's look at tonight's game here as you take a look. Again, Atlanta the favorite, minus 110, minus 106 the Mets here. Depends where you are. Could be minus 110 both directions. Total bumping up a tick, 7.5 right now. I believe we saw some 7s earlier in the day. I mentioned I wanted to back Chris Sale, and that's what I'm going to do with Braves money line at minus 110. It's not just liking Sale. Severino is in a bit of, what's the opposite of a bounce back? A fall off, a shutout last time out. Braves hit Sevy, and we get the Braves money line in this game. We'll be right back.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here, SportsGrid style, Thursday night with you on Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh here. We got a good crew stopping by. We're going to talk to Brady Cannon, some 3M Open. Let me just quickly get eyes and see if we finished up for the day there at the 3M. We talked to Brady over the weekend, some of the guys he was highlighting. We have Bridgman here, 8 under. Mackenzie Hughes, 7 under. Mackenzie Hughes was certainly tracking to end up as that round one leader. Andrew Novak is at 6 under with what looks like a hole to play. So that would be a tough ask for him to pull off an eagle, but it would be his second of the day if he got it to tie Bridgman there. Thorne Bjornsson, though, man, someone we highlighted with Brady. And again, we'll talk to Brady in a little bit. This guy's he's 5 under. He's T6. He was, I believe, 65-1 on Sunday. That was when we were talking with Brady. I believe that was Tuesday. We were talking with Brady. But he was also around pick for a top 40, man. And again, it all depends on how you want to bet golf. You know, if you're someone who chases big tickets, outright market, or even, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a big ticket, right? I mean, you could have got great odds for him for a top 10, top 20. But, man, if you played it safe for a top 40, you're in a great spot there with Thorne Bjornsson, who is supposed to be someone who's going to really kind of blast onto the scene here for the PGA Tour, and is off to a great start there at the 3M Open. Want to get a live update for people as well, Major League Baseball. With just one game going on, it's the Dodgers and it's the Giants. It's 4-2 right now, L.A. in the bottom of the 7th with 2 outs. But this was a really important game, arguably the most important from the early slate here, because the Dodgers threw Clayton Kershaw. And we know the L.A. Dodgers, monster favorites to make the postseason, to win the division in the NL West, and every reason to believe that that's exactly what this baseball team is going to do. So with the Dodgers, the questions are, and probably for the Dodgers more than any team in Major League Baseball, it's what will the playoffs look like, right? You know, for a Yankees, a Braves, yes, those teams are equally, World Series or bust, right? That's how we evaluate them. But the Yankees don't have a luxury of thinking about a World Series right now. They're not in first place in their division. Same story with the Atlanta Braves, right? Even if you look at a Houston Astros team who has climbed up into first now past the Seattle Mariners, who are reeling, lost 8 of their last 10 baseball games, 3 in a row. Again, the Astros have not created anywhere near enough separation to rest on laurels. If you look in the American League right now, there are 6 teams with a better record than that baseball team. So, again, it just kind of gives you an idea where the Dodgers and their level of certainty, right? I mean, again, you could say the Philadelphia Phillies as well. I guess that would be fair. The Dodgers' level of certainty of, man, eyes are on the postseason is next level. And for the Dodgers, what's super important is this rotation gets right. We know the lineup is great. It boasts the NL MVP favorite in Shohei Ohtani. It boasts MVP caliber guys and World Series champions in Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. Key pickups like Teoscar Hernandez, right? One of the best hitting catchers in the league, and Will Smith. I mean, this team's got it going. We know that. But as many answers as we get on the hitting side of it, we're left with nearly as many questions on the pitching side. Now, the Dodgers are a team, if you jump on an MLB The Show, turn injuries off, simulate the season, I'd expect they'd win the majority of those years, right? Probably enough to even at least be booked at about, even money to win a World Series. Well, we don't turn injuries off. And this Dodgers rotation fully healthy is, it's great. Glasnow, Yamamoto, Buehler, Kershaw, my goodness, right? I mean, can you get Dustin May back into the fold? So it's a Dodgers team we know that's loaded, but it's a Dodgers team that is far, far from healthy, right? With Glasnow and Yamamoto, I mean, it's been a long time now, it feels. It's been forever since we've seen Yamamoto. Tyler Glasnow was, pushing for a Cy Young. We saw Glasnow go yesterday, right? First start back in a while, goes 5 innings, takes a loss. Not great, not awful, but that's not the Tyler Glasnow that they paid for, so now they got to ease him back in. Clayton Kershaw today, 4 innings of work, 6 hits, 2 earned runs. Not terrible, right? Not great, not blow your doors off. But it's his first start. Okay. I'll ask you this. Glasnow, Yamamoto, Walker Buehler, and Clayton Kershaw. Over, under. 3.5 healthy by the time the postseason starts. Look at you screaming at the TV. Under. You know it's true. How could you project out a 4-man group who are basically all within the last 48 hours unhealthy, right? To be healthy by the time we get to the postseason. Now, the idea is it's the Dodgers. Deadline comes around, they'll get Garrett Crochet. This won't be a worry. Maybe so. Maybe so. But again, until we get those answers, I think this is what's going to linger around this Dodger team. Again, there's a lot of certainty with the Dodgers. They're winning their division. They're going to be in the postseason. It's a matter of will they catch the Phils, right, for the best record in baseball. That's the question, right? Will Ohtani win a Triple Crown? Those are the questions around the Dodgers, right? Well, until the postseason starts. Then people, and only then probably, will people say, what's the rotation? Landon Knack? Huh? Who? Why? How? That's not what this is supposed to be. We're the Dodgers. Again, time will tell, but I did think that's why today's start was important, because they need to start getting Kershaw out there, as you can see from today's start, as you saw from Glasnow yesterday. Those guys wouldn't be ready if the postseason was tomorrow. And again, it doesn't start tomorrow, right? But it shows you that the Dodgers are still far away from the baseball team that is priced the way they are, that is supposed to be clear-cut World Series favorites. It's a quick break. We're right back live here. It's Game Time Decisions.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, live with you right here on SportsGrid. As I mentioned, the baseball board is live, but also we have more baseball coming on up. 7:10, it is Mets, it's Braves. We'll expand on that on just a moment, but Angels-A's tonight at 9:30 is a good one. It's a fun one, and there is some juice in this baseball game. I highlighted a couple of hitters here. Now, you guys know me. We wait for the lineups. Those are out, but also it's an interesting spot tonight with kind of the way the information shapes up here in this game. Rosenberg against Stripling. Neither guy is necessarily in or is providing us the sample size that I love. What do I mean by this, all right? So Ross Stripling's been awful. Whoa, really bad. Really, really bad. He hasn't started a game since May. So that changes things a little bit, right? We want to fade Ross Stripling tonight. How much Ross Stripling are we going to be getting? It's a valid question. But again, Ross Stripling looks like big-time fade material. And again, it's not a 1-9 record. It's a 5.82 ERA. It's a 3.51 batting average allowed this season against left-handed hitters. Kenny Rosenberg, 6.3 ERA. Nightmare. He only started 2 games. We only have 10 total innings of Kenny Rosenberg to go off of. And actually, he didn't technically start either of those baseball games, Kenny Rosenberg. Right? So, again, how much Kenny Rosenberg are we getting? And do we have a comfortable enough sample size here to fade Kenny Rosenberg, who in 39 at-bats, 10 against lefties, 29 against righties, a left-handed pitcher. Clearly teams looking to stack that right side of the dish. He's allowing a 310 batting average to righties, 300 batting average to lefties. That's open season then, right? That's anybody that this season in an A's uniform hitting lefties we can get live with. So that would be Brent Rooker, Miguel Andujar, absolutely jump off the page. Outside of that, nobody really kind of jumped off for me there from Oakland. Okay, but we got 2 guys. We have Renfigo going for the Angels, switch hitter, so we'll get him left-sided here against Ross Stripling. And he certainly, again, could kind of jump off the page. The tricky bit for me is these guys are a tick out of the distance. They're a tick expensive right now from those 1.5 hits, runs, RBI. So I'm trying to be cautious with how much juice I want to lay. When you take a look right now, can we get to parlay pieces? No, we can't. For me, at least, parlay those hits, runs, RBIs for guys within the same game, which is understandable, right? There's a level of correlation there. So I'm still trying to work through how I want to play this game. I know my target guys are going to, again, be Miguel Andujar, Brent Rooker, and Louis Rengifo. Excuse me. You guys know how it is. I'm not great with the names. That's all right, though. That's where I'm looking at for that baseball game. I've not jumped in just yet, but I'm going to still we'll make sure anything we jump in for that game, we get there before it kind of buttons up. Now, with Mets-Braves tonight, look, again, it's a tricky game because you have 2 top guys in Sale and Luis Severino going. Now, you certainly could, at least for me, right, try and go through make sure all the splits line up and play some under. I like my hits, runs, RBI markets. We can go under the 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Sale this season, lefties have just mostly stood no chance, right? So who's that going to be tonight? It would be DJ Stewart. It would be Jeff McNeil. All right, those are the only lefties that even made the card here tonight for the Mets. For Luis Severino, if you look, 243 batting average to lefties. That's not great. Now, 206 to righties is really strong, okay? So that means that you would want to attack some of the guys from the right side of the dish. Austin Riley, Ozuna, Darno, Nacho Alvarez, Ramon Laureano, Orlando Arcia. Okay, we have some guys. We have 6 guys, right, that we could fade. How do those guys qualify against righties? My hesitation with this situation is I do think Severino is in a reverse bounce-back spot. Last few times he's come off a shutout, we've seen him give up a good chunk, right? Threw a shutout against the Cubbies, gave up 4 against Houston. Threw a shutout against the Pirates, gave up 3 against the Giants. Those are the shutouts this season for him. Again, it's a clear bar to make. But making that distinction, I'm thinking we're going to play Braves money line, trust Chris Sale. Maybe at some other jump-in spots, fading a Jeff McNeil, fading a Marcelo's, maybe an Austin Riley. We'll continue to check those. We'll talk to Brady Cannon with some golf next. We're live right here on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, updates with you right here. Major League Baseball board quickly. We've got 4-4 now here in this game as the Giants tied it up. Conforto with the double. Soler then drives in Michael Conforto. So we've got fours here in this baseball game. Locks in the over for people who played 8.5. As, of course, we're going to have to get the 5-4 in that game. One other quick update for people. And, look, I just want to quickly with the baseball. A lot of the baseball that I do, I've taken from our good buddy Donnie Rightside. Don says, man, if you can find the numbers that work for you, don't kind of veer off too much. And the hits, runs, RBI stuff that I like to look at, I am usually looking for over 1.5, right? I don't often try and kind of play those things down, but you certainly can. This stuff can be applicable. But knowing that we had a Sale Severino matchup, I didn't know if there was really going to be anybody that I was willing to fade. It did draw my eye back to the market quickly during the commercial break. Has this ever existed before? Probably, but I can't tell you I've ever seen it. DJ Stewart tonight, lefty batting against a lefty in Chris Sale in the 9-hole. Over a half a hit-run RBI is minus 160 to the under. Good grief. I mean, this guy to basically not touch base, they're saying is an absolute lock. I mean, a walk, home run, you never know. It's incredible there just to see a number like that. Just, the other lefty is McNeil. He's plus 135, under a half. Hit-run RBI there. So that's just a staggering number to see on DJ Stewart. But let's talk some golf. To help us do that, it's Brady Cannon. We're checking in with the 3M Open, Brady. How are you doing here on a Thursday night?
I'm doing great, my friend. Good to be back with you. And, Adam Kaufman, our friend that I do shows on Saturday evenings with, I texted him late night. He and I always I shouldn't say always, but every now and then like to dabble in a little first-round leader action, right? So I'm sitting there in bed late last night. I said, let's kind of spice up this 3M Open a little bit and play some first-round leaders. And I know Adam likes that kind of thing. So I texted him. I said, hey, if you're game, here's who I'm going to put a little pizza money on for a first-round leader. We landed on Mackenzie Hughes, and it looked like that was a winner for a long time today until Jacob Bridgman, of all people, comes around and has a 11-foot putt for eagle on the 18th hole, misses that, but birdies it to beat us by a shot.
You know what's sad is knowing that Jacob Bridgman was in the lead, the only way that story was ending is that you had Mackenzie Hughes, because Brady, there's no way you had Jacob Bridgman, right?
No,
I mean,
no.
who had Jacob
And I looked
Bridgman?
at a couple other guys. I looked at Taylor Pendrith. I kind of had a feeling about him all week for an outright. I considered him for a first-round leader. He played pretty well, shot 5 under. Jonathan, is it Jonathan Lower? Justin Lower. Justin Lower has been a guy that's been playing pretty well as of late. I looked at his stats, and he got off to a real hot start, and I was going, oh, gosh, I should have bet him. I didn't play him, but he's okay at 4 under. Sahith Theegala, I know our colleague Mike Carver is on for an outright, and, he's kind of fallen off the map for a while here. His iron play has really come apart, and it wasn't great today, but he was able to put it together with the rest of his game and get off to a good start. So, and I said this to somebody on Wednesday. They asked about Theegala, and he's been bad and this and that, and I said, you know what? He's been bad for a minute, and now the price has gotten pretty high on him. Maybe it's time to jump back in, and that doesn't look too bad right now if you're Mike Carver.
No, certainly not. But I do want to start with Jacob Bridgman, if only because whoever the first-round leader is, it's going to catch people's attention, right? Maybe they're going to be ready to fade, but Jacob Bridgman checks in. He's 16-1. It's understandable considering there's not a lot of separation right now at the top of this board. It's not just the one up on Mackenzie Hughes, but you have 12 or 11 golfers, right? Within, I think it is 11 or 12 or 11 golfers right now within 3 shots of Jacob Bridgman. But, Brady, is there anything you can tell us about Bridgman here and any thoughts on his price at 16-1?
I wouldn't want to go there, especially after a guy opens with a round of 63, a relatively inexperienced guy, that we don't know a whole lot about, hasn't been on tour a long time. I know he comes from Clemson University, and I've seen the name around, but it's not like this guy's been, peppering the top 10 here for months over the summer. A relatively young guy that's just had some, pretty pedestrian rounds so far in his young career, but obviously got off to a great start today. And usually when a guy, does something like that, no matter how experienced you are, it usually goes the other way in round 2. So I would expect him to level off in round 2, and I wouldn't get too excited about Jacob Bridgman just yet. He was very good off the tee today. He hit a lot of greens in regulation. He putted lights out. I think he was 3rd in the field for strokes gained putting, but his approach play was very average. He ranked 70th in this field for strokes gained approach. So that kind of tells me that the irons were not perfectly dialed in. He was just kind of getting it done with everything else. And that worries you. I think when you look at making a future play in game, you want to see a guy that's really dialed in with his ball striking. And you and I have gone over that a number of times, Kevin. Mm-hmm. If a guy's really good off the tee and he's striping the irons, and all he needs is for the putter to get hot or something like that, there's a good chance that can turn. But if the other parts of the game, if he's a little wobbly off the tee or a little wobbly with the irons and the putter's red hot, I think it's harder to change the ladder or harder to change, the ball striking rather than it is to, a putter can be volatile. You can get hot or cold with that in a moment's notice. But your ball striking is going to be pretty true day to day, week to week.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and it's why I'm going to go a touch off the beaten path here with the next name I'm going to bring up. But from you, I love now to, we figure out strokes, tee to green, strokes gained, tee to green. And, so I pull it up, I do it by ranks, and I just scroll, right? And I'm looking, I'm like, man, are my eyes not working? Where's the guy who's first in the field, right? Taylor Pendrith is here. T6, right? Where I can't find it, but Tony Finau, okay, T13. All the way here at T39, right, or at least kind of how this shapes up at the moment, is Taylor Moore. First in strokes gained tee to green. Well, what went wrong? In a 156-man field, he's 151st in strokes gained putting. So you kind of see how things like that happen. But this isn't, golf betting is not as simple as, guy's putter didn't work. Bet him the next day and everything's going to be great, because pedigree factors in. For a guy like Taylor Moore, who admittedly I'm not as familiar with, it might be more likely that the approach play comes back to the field, and the putter, even if it gets a bit better, again, it's 151st. Being 100th in the field in putting is still pretty bad. I'm just curious, Brady, when you see a guy's numbers like that, who is right now, again, first in strokes gained tee to green, but bottom 5 with the putter.
Yeah, it's a red flag for sure. And Taylor Moore is a very good player. He got his first win ever on the PGA Tour last year, and I was on him. That was a great win. It's 60-1 at the Valspar Championship, and that's really when he put himself on the map. And he putted lights out in that tournament. And I think over the course of his career, he has typically been a very good putter. His putter has gone south in 2024, as evidenced by what he did today, lost over 3 strokes to the field with the flat stick. Now, you mentioned the approach play. The approach play was very, very good, but he was, pretty average off the tee. So little wobbly with the driver, and his iron play had to kind of keep him in the mix here and keep him a couple shots under par. There's kind of too much going on here for me, and he's also a long way off the pace, Kevin, for me to get too far invested at this point in Taylor Moore.
Yeah, I think that is a great breakdown there, Brady. What we're going to do is hit a break, maybe mention 1 or 2 more names out here at the 3M Open, and continue to give you a couple of key details. Heading around the Olympic field there for the men's golf, it's a loaded field. What should you be looking for? We'll answer that next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is 1 game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, it's GameTime Decisions. Update on that baseball board. Back-to-back Jacks, Nick Ahmed and Shohei Ohtani make it 6-4 for the L.A. Dodgers there. Ohtani and his MVP season continue, 31 homers on the year. The batting average is at .311. Again, he's just an absolute monster for the L.A. Dodgers. We're joined by Brady Cannon. We're talking some golf here. And, Brady, before we move off the 3M Open, I'd love to ask you about a guy that you and I hit on loosely a little earlier on this weekend. It was Michael Thornbjornsson. And this is kind of a guy that I use to remind people that it's not always has to be an outright ticket. where you mentioned, hey, could be a popular play, maybe a bit too early, and we're really early on in this tournament. So nobody who's bet his 65, 70 is running victory laps out there. But there might be some, Brady, who placed a pretty much even money wager on Thor Bjornsson for a top 40 who think to themselves, okay, it would take quite a miracle for me not to cash that ticket. I want to ask you about Thor Bjornsson, who's currently minus 115 for a top 20. If you think that's work it, and what do you think about the opening round from him?
His opening round was great, and I was thinking about the exact same guy when I saw him finish 5 under par today. Of course, you and I did speak about him on Wednesday, and you got to like the way he has started, and he's gaining strokes on the field in really every category. I mean, he's not been so far to one end of the spectrum where you kind of throw up a red flag. He's just been really steady in just about every area. He's tied for 6th right now in greens and regulation. He's gaining almost 1.5 strokes on the field on approach. Been really solid off the tee. It just playing really well. But like I say, not, crazy good. Like you talked about Taylor Moore, in one area, he's really off the charts. And then in another area, he's off the charts the wrong way. Thor Bjornsson has been consistently good really across the board here. And that's a great sign, I think, going forward. So, minus 115 kind of sounds a little expensive this early in the game to bet on him for top 20. Hard to say there, Kevin. No matter what it is, whether it's a finish position, an outright win, I almost never like to make a bet after just one round. I really like to see 36 holes go by before I kind of have a feel for how this thing might go moving forward after that. You never know. It's why I've said for years, I am much better at betting head-to-head matchups for the full tournament than I am for a single round. Because a single round for me is like betting on 1/4 of a football game. We don't know if the Chiefs are going to light up the scoreboard and score 20 points or if this is going to we don't know. Over the course of the game, we expect the Chiefs to be pretty darn good. But 1/4, anything can happen. And that's kind of the way I feel in a golf tournament. We expect Tony Finau to be pretty good over the course of 4 days. One day, you never know what could happen.
Just because you hit on it, I'll give you an example of that. Do you remember the Chiefs' comeback against the Texans in the playoffs? The second rounder, Mahomes against Watson, where they were down 21-0 and then up at half, like 24-21.
Yes.
There was one team total that you could bet in that entire game that didn't win, right? Whether it was a full game, halftime, either side. And it was the Chiefs' first quarter team total, 6.5. They're laying juice. And that was the team total that I bet. I lost, and I turned that football game off and got into work and found out the Chiefs had the halftime lead. Now, listen, it's not
Great
apples
example.
to apples, but to Brady's point, if you open up the window, right, you kind of give yourself a chance to be correct more. It varies, right? I know baseball bettors that sometimes say, man,
Kevin, the handicap is more likely to manifest over time rather than just a short slice of cheese, right? So, I at just one round, 18 holes under our belt. Okay, let's see where we're at. Did we win a first-round leader? Oh, no. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's get 2 rounds under our belt, see where we're at, and maybe make a move from there. But I typically don't want to react to just one day.
And by the way, it's why sometimes, just because we're in that time of year, and Brady, I know you place the wagers as well, sometimes with NFL futures, there were a few teams last year that I was really interested in betting, and I was deciding between win a division and win a conference. Now, ultimately, they didn't cash, but it was the Browns and the Packers. And I was kind of going through, and I go, listen, man, could Green Bay win the North? They could. But if they're in the playoffs, I'm getting a great number, and I'm in the mix, right? And again, ultimately, I made no money off the ticket, right? That's how futures go. But you give yourself more room, and that's what I always try and tell people who are not, if you're not a regular golf bettor, but you're getting into it more and more. I mean, again, we enter the 3M with the favorite having longer odds than the Chiefs are to win the Super Bowl. And that's going to take place over 4 days. It is a futures market. It really is. I know it's an event, but so that's kind of where, again, just to Brady's point, because I think it's an awesome one, giving yourself more time to be correct is not a bad idea.
Yep. I agree with you wholeheartedly, my friend. It's you look at all these golfers and you handicap their skill sets, and they're good with the irons, they're good with the putter, whatever their strengths and weaknesses are. That's more likely to play out over the course of 4 days than it is just one.
Yeah, it's a great point there. Brady, I don't want to keep you too long, but I did want to talk just a little bit of the Olympics. Just because then we're going to get cut off here if you have just a minute or two just to throw people some of the stuff that, all right, fantastic. We're going to stick around here then with Brady and to give people an idea, just in case you haven't seen it yet, the field for the men's Olympics golf tournament. My goodness. Scotty, Xander, Rory, Ludwig, Morikawa, Rahm, Lowry. If they're not careful, this is going to become the premier event in all of golf. This is an incredible field here, a lot of pride on the line, and a lot of opportunities to get involved. I've been saying it all week. I think the basketball is going to draw a lot of the money. I think the golf's going to be in that top 5 pretty comfortably because they're bringing superstars to Paris. This is the best in the world. That's where they are this week, and we're going to talk about them next with Brady Cannon. Keep it right here. We're live with you on a Thursday night on Sports.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here, live on SportsGrid. Our guy Brady Cannon sticks around here, Brady. As I said, the Olympics field for golf with the men's side of it, it's just absolutely star-studded. What are you what's starting to jump off the page as you get a look at this tournament here?
Yeah, and admittedly, I've just started to scratch the surface here. I'm not quite positive of what the format is going to be. I think it's going to be a traditional 4-day stroke play event. and maybe just first, second, and third are gold medal, silver, and bronze. I'm not positive. I know I'll know here pretty soon, probably before the weekend. But I'm sure that information has now become readily available, but I haven't gotten to that point just yet. I've started to look at the numbers. I've started to look at the golf course and kind of size everything from that angle so far. This golf course has been around for a while. It's been a part of Ryder Cups. It's been a part of the European Tour, the Open de France, that has been participated in by many guys in this field. Not really any Americans, which is interesting. They had the 2018 Ryder Cup here that Europe won, and there were no Americans in that Ryder Cup that are in here in this Olympics. Scotty wasn't there, Morikawa wasn't there, Wyndham Clark wasn't there, and I'm forgetting who the fourth guy, Xander Schauffele. He wasn't there either for that particular Ryder Cup. But there were Europeans there that are here. And also in that same year in 2018, earlier in that summer, Alex Noren won the Open de France, the European Tour event, at this same golf course. John Rahm, by the way, in that same tournament finished fifth. Both Rahm and Noren were also a part of the Ryder Cup team. Noren went 2-1 as far as his overall points. He won his singles match. He lost one of the team matches and won another team match. So he was 2-1 on the week. Rahm won his singles match, beat Tiger Woods, but lost his two team matches. He was 1-2 for the week. Rory was 2-3. And these are all guys that are here at the Olympics. Tommy Fleetwood was a Ryder Cup rookie that year in 2018, paired up with Francesco Molinari, who's not here in the Olympic field, but Tommy is representing England. And Tommy was on fire for that Ryder Cup. He went 4-1. So there's a guy, I mean, Noren, Fleetwood, and really Rahm too, have all had a lot of success at this golf course.
It's incredible insight there then, and it kind of gives us an idea just where to keep our eye. I'm curious, and again, we were kind of talking about this a little bit, but at the moment, the only thing that is different thus far is we don't have anything, at least that I'm seeing, other than an outright market. When do we start to get some head-to-heads, some round scores? I don't know if the finishing position, well, probably give us what? I mean, I guess gold, silver, and bronze, right? So I think that's going to be super interesting, Brady, when we get there.
That's what I was talking about. I don't know exactly how the playing format is going to necessarily match up with the markets. I'm guessing there'll probably be some very interesting betting where we can, pose one country against another, or who's going to be the low country. Like, most of these countries have two representatives. And maybe you're going to have an entire market of those countries that are represented by two players who has the cumulative low score. That would be a ton of fun. So I think there's going to be some great betting markets, and I'm just kind of waiting for it all to come out. I imagine we'll see it over the weekend, and if not over the weekend, I'm sure by Monday morning.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, and look, I know a lot of this stuff has started, but the opening ceremony's tomorrow, so we kind of still have some time with different Olympic markets. I wonder how much this event could be a swing on the over-under gold medals total for the USA. Brady,
wow,
which is 41.5. Yeah. Because, we think Scotty's 310, but again, you and Sam behind the scenes, we're talking, what's going to be the price for USA to win gold with golf? Because then you got Scotty, Xander, and Morikawa all, within that side of that top five. So it's going to be an interesting thing. It's tournaments like this. We mentioned the women's soccer. It's going to be a lot of fun. Brady, appreciate it. As always, I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will, Kev. I'll just leave you with this. Morikawa is probably going to be another guy that I'll be on. I mean, this guy has been knocking on the door all season long in these big events. Maybe this will be the time that he gets on that podium.
Yeah, we'll be keeping eyes on it throughout. Again, that's Brady Cannon there joining us on Game Time Decisions. Up next, Mr. Joe Lisi stops by to answer the question of how many Big Ten teams will be in the college football playoff.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We're live here. It's Game Time Decisions. I'm like a kid on Christmas, man. I got everything I could ask for here on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh with you, joined by Joe Lisi, one half of Carver and Lisi. Joe, great to see you.
Oh, this is it, the long off season of college football. Is this like my first step to becoming a regular on GTD for the college and NFL season? Only time will tell.
Listen.
I got to see if I'm worthy enough to make the cut. I don't know. I got to see. Gotta kiss
this
the
guy's,
ring.
I'll tell you, he's tough to get a hold of. I tell you, it's nice to see him, though, here. About a month ago, he told me I'd see you in a month. Listen, I made that phone call. Here he is. We call him Monday. Too busy. That's all right. It's all right. Now, Joe, before we get into some very serious college football business, I am on the Braves here against the Mets. Money line. I'm curious. Listen, people know who listen to Carver and Lisi hot on this baseball. Did you touch this game?
I did, but I had it parlayed with the over 10.5 in the Dodger game. I was on the Braves as well. I know the Mets swept the Yankees, but, I still have time. I could get in from an in-game perspective right after my 2 hits in 2 segments here. I'll probably jump in, but I would take the Braves just because Mets are the hottest team, all the money there. I will say this, not just from the All-Star break, but prior, all the Mets do is score overs. It doesn't matter if it's them or giving up 10 runs a game. If you played the Mets over for like the last month and a half, you're raking in money, Kev. 7.5 seems light to me.
Yeah, it's a great look there. And again, I mean it with all sincerity. Joe's been doing great with the baseball. And again, Carver and Lisi, they're live in an hour here on SportsGrid Radio. So make sure you tune in. Now, Joe, look, football season, we're to talk some pro, but today, around the college game, with all these media days, and I believe it was Matt Rule who said the Big Ten should easily put 4 teams in the college football playoff. We have a 12-team field, right? And we know there's going to be automatic bids for 5 conferences. Now, one of those will be the Big Ten, but we have 7 at-large bids. And, Rule's suggesting, hey, 3 of those should go to the Big Ten. Do you think it's realistic we see 4 Big Ten teams crack the college football playoff, Joe?
I think it's possible, Kev. Who's the 4 teams? I think Oregon and Ohio State are the front runners, right? in regards to that. You have Michigan that has a big week 2 matchup, 3.5-point dogs against Texas. I already like the Wolverines in terms of that matchup. They do have a 22-game home winning streak, assuming that Michigan is 9-3 or at the worst 10-2. I think they're the third team. The fourth team is going to be interesting. USC has a 7.5 number. I talked about it with Ben. I talked about it with Carver. When is the last time you saw a Lincoln Riley team 24-1 to win the Big Ten and great odds just to make the college football playoff? I mean, a win total is 7.5. You have to go back to the days of Clay Helton. So the pressure is off USC. If their defense can come up to par and be a 9-win football team and, let's say, knock off Penn State during the regular season, they have the potential to knock down that door. Penn State is the enigma. I mean, 3 losses last year. Drew Aller, he was absolutely atrocious, under 50% completion percentage. You can't lose to Michigan. You can't lose to Ohio State and Ole Miss, and you can't throw the football. That's a huge problem. So we'll see how they do it this year.
Yeah, I think, it's really interesting, though, with this year's college football playoff format and all of the realignment is kind of figuring out how much real estate is available for these conferences. And, this is a point, Joe, that you made back in January. I mean, when we were, or December of, hey, we might be trying to figure some stuff out. So are the books. So how are the books going to be able to handle pricing teams here? Let's key in on Michigan. You mentioned their game against Texas, right? And you like Michigan. But here's the thing, Joe. If they lose that game, it doesn't mean season's over. What kind of number could we get on a Michigan Wolverines team currently plus 115 to make a college football playoff if they miss out, right? I think those are going to really be fascinating markets to watch develop here throughout this season.
Oh, absolutely, Kevin. That's why I agree with you. You have to sort of project out, right? So if I'm a Michigan backer right now and I believe that they're going to win week number 2 against Texas, I'm pulling the trigger at plus 115, right? Because they're not going to be there. They're going to be negative money in terms of that matchup. And then conversely, you're going to see Texas potentially fall to maybe plus money, especially knowing that they still have to play Georgia in the month of October. So that's the way you have to project. If you believe a certain team is going to knock off another in terms of a top 25 battle, jump on the number now. Another team that you could bring up outside of the Big Ten is Clemson. Clemson faces off against Georgia, right? Clemson's 2-1 to make the college football playoff. They're 13.5-point dogs week 1, August 31st. If somehow, some way they pull the upset, there is no way they're going to be plus 205 to make the playoff this year, right? And then they're going to be probably negative money to win the ACC. So that's what you have to project out. It's which teams do you feel early on match up well against an opponent, a top 25 opponent, and then can they project out to potentially a double-digit season? That's the way I'm playing it right now.
The thing is, and again, just kind of fascinated by this make the college football playoff market, but, I'll use the NFL draft since we're talking football, right? They'll have odds for guys to go in the top 10. We'll have 14 guys with minus money. It's like, come on, what are we really doing here? We only have 7 teams that have a minus price to make the college football playoff. There's 12 spots available. You're going to cash plus money. It could be even money. It could be plus 450. Heck, maybe you find that 20-1, 30-1, right? If you're lucky enough, you can catch that kind of big shot there. But I think when Matt Rule says, hey, I think we can put 4 teams into that college football playoff, I don't think he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong at all, and I think that's okay. If we put 4 teams in from the Big Ten and 4 teams from the SEC, okay, now there's only 4 spots left, right? And if you think about it, ACC champ, Big 12 champ, Group of 5 champ, okay, there's really only 1 spot left. So I don't know if we're going to be able to really put 8 teams in from the SEC and the Big Ten, but we're going to put in at least 6, Joe. But again, I don't think that's a mistake. I think it's going to be up to the committee to not get too scared if they see a 9-3 Oregon. I don't necessarily think that means Oregon isn't a top 12 team. I think there's still room for those kind of ball teams.
Oh, I agree with you, and that's why I say it matters who it is, right? Because if it's a 10-2 Notre Dame team, let's say going up against a 9-3 or a 10-2 Iowa team, I think Notre Dame would get the inside edge because of Notre Dame having the cachet, Notre Dame being the technical independent, Notre Dame having the national broad-based audience, and again, we know certain teams sort of not the national perspective. Iowa doesn't really move the needle. Look at what happened with Florida State last year, right? 13-0 in the regular season. We treated them like Tulane or a group of 5 team. So again, it's really going to matter on which the team is. And that's why I say in the Big Ten that you brought up, if it's USC, that's 10-2 or 9-3, they would much rather have Lincoln Riley and Miller Moss in the college football playoff than potentially, let's just say, Iowa or someone else out of the SEC that doesn't move the gauge as much. So we'll see. Again, I think you're right. It's definitely 6 from the SEC and Big Ten.
Yeah, but look, the funny thing is, man, people are like, oh, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's sitting there minus 170, man. And again, you guys know me. Go Irish, Notre Dame plus the points. I mean, they make this easy on us sometimes, but I can't believe their win total. 10.5. I mean, this team's flipping to a dog week 1. They'd have to run the table after that, Joe.
Yeah, they have Army and Navy on the docket. Come on, they have USC. You know that. Army and Navy. There's 2 wins right there. They're going to be favored in almost every game. 10-2 at worst.
Wow. Hot on this Notre Dame. Wait a minute. I like what I'm hearing here. This is good. Listen, there's a lot more kind of breaking down and cracking in I need to do, but I saw that 10.5 win total at Notre Dame, and I could not believe my eyes. We'll talk some Kyles, we'll talk some Pro, we'll talk some Joe Lisi.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is 1 game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, Game Time Decisions. Great to be here, man. Great to be here with Joe Lisi, as always, man. Joe, it's good to see you. It's been too long, and before you know it, we're going to be talking college football, man. And then before you know it, we'll be talking some NFL. And today in the NFL, I know Kirk Cousins was cleared for activity, and of course the big offseason signing for the Atlanta Falcons. Do you kind of have a good grasp yet of what you think about this Falcons team, but more specifically Kirk Cousins coming off of the injury in a new system?
Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins might put up numbers from the fantasy and, passing perspective, but expecting Kirk Cousins to win the division, expecting Kirk Cousins to win a meaningful playoff game and challenge for an NFC championship, I think you need to have your head examined. I just can't do it, especially coming off the Achilles tendon surgery and knowing his age. We talk about Aaron Rodgers and that situation. It's the same for Kirk Cousins. And knowing that there's maybe a little, not continuity in terms of the locker room with Michael Penix being there and Raheem Morris, I just don't know. I would still put Tampa Bay as the front team, still believe in Baker, still believe in that offense, even though Dave Canales is coaching Carolina. I still think they're the best team, the most complete team in the division. Again, can Atlanta win 9 games? It's possible, but I would bet against it.
Do you think on a week-to-week basis, though, Joe, because, of course, look, sides, totals, everything, but, you kind of highlight your guys and you alts and whatnot, and I know, we'll have a better rhythm October, November, but do you think Bijan Robinson is a guy that you could see yourself being interested in sophomore season? Because, look, you know it so well. Again, no one knows the college game better, and you saw what he did at Texas. And by the time he got to the pros, the hype around Bijan Robinson was next level. It really was. And I don't think it was his fault, but the expectations, I think he fell a bit short of them, right? Do you think that Bijan has a big breakout this season now with the Atlanta Falcons?
I think he can, Kev. I don't think 1,200 yards on the ground and taking over the duties full time, or let's say 75% of the production from Tyler Algier is out of the realm of possibility, especially when you have an aging quarterback and not knowing exactly what Kirk Cousins brings. And that's what I'm saying is he might have rehabbed. He might look on in terms of the weight room 100%, but we don't know until in terms of game speed, until he gets in that week 1 type of environment, how he's going to perform with his new team. So maybe Bijan does take on a bigger load as it relates to the rushing attack. Again, the best thing, too, to preserve your defense is to have balance. That's running the football as well. I don't think Atlanta had a dominant defense for much of the second half of the season last year. So for me, I think Bijan will have a bigger load. I think obviously 1,200 yards in terms of the ground isn't out of the realm of possibility. And again, him catching potentially maybe 50 to 60 passes as well in the short to intermediate passing game, a la Saquon Barkley, is in the mix as well.
I think just kind of that might be the area. And I don't know, Bijan's a star. That could be the early season area we see more value on Bijan is the passing game, because that upgraded quarterback. Because he might not get as many rushing opportunities on a per-game basis. The Algier stuff, I think it's going to be complicated. But, man, the upgraded quarterback, he and Cousins can find a rhythm. That's what made Bijan such an exciting prospect. It's not just as a pure runner. It's that do-it-all McCaffrey style, certainly. Joe, the Falcons are going to open with Pittsburgh. And we saw Justin Fields throw a really beautiful deep touchdown pass, basically against no one. But it was, come on, it made the rounds. You think Justin Fields is starting week 1 against the Falcons?
I do. And I told you, plus 475 to start week 1, down to 4-1. And the stars are aligning in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson tweaks about a hammy. He's not 100%. I told Ben, give it 2 weeks before you see the disgust on Mike Tomlin's face in terms of how Russell Wilson handles this, how he handles it in the locker room, and it's just a matter of time before he implodes. The only way Pittsburgh could get to a wild card and, more importantly, challenge for any stint or stitch of an AFC championship this year is with Justin Fields at the helm. That RPO game is in the mix. I'm telling you, don't be shocked when he's under center week 1.
All right. Looks would be a bit shocked. Again, you mentioned 4-1. Another one in that market, and it's flipping a little bit, Joe. But Aiden O'Connell's now the favorite to start for Las Vegas. Do you think that's a mistake?
Yes, I do. Let's put it what it is. You know what you have. You know what you have in Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew, all he does is cover and all he does is win games. He did it in Jacksonville with a sub-500 team. He did it last year with Indianapolis and taking over for AR and almost brought them to a card appearance. I mean, Aiden O'Connell threw for 3 yards, Kev, when the Raiders beat Kansas City as a 12.5-point dog. Is that what you want starting this season? With Devontae Adams as disgruntled as he is? You want to bring in Aiden O'Connell? Come on now. Yeah. He's not throwing a Rondale Moore back in the days of West Lafayette. Come on now. No way.
Now listen, Aiden O'Connell is responsible for one of the more gut-wrenching losses that I had. You mentioned the game where he did a whole lot of nothing against Kansas City. He had 9 completions. I think all came in the first quarter. I had bet him over a very small amount, but he still obviously didn't get there. It was Christmas. I walked home Christmas, my mom, and I think the first thing she said, what was that best bet? At O'Connell, he's terrible. Mom, what are you doing to me? Running me up a flagpole. But here's the thing. Gardner Minshew's a winner. I mean, the kid's record is, 15-22? As a starter? What are you talking about? When do you give me the wazoo statistics?
He was on a gutless team in Jacksonville, and he still played. Come on.
7-13 as a starter with the Jags. I don't understand.
Come on. This guy.
You love this Minshew.
They're still praising him in Philly.
Oh, they're not. Only Donnie. Only Donnie right side. I'll tell you, something's wrong with that guy.
Who's that?
Listen, he's probably calling you. You're going to need some hits in the morning to help him out. Tom, see you, Joe.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live with you right here on a Thursday night. Major League Baseball board with a big-time game underway between the Mets and the Braves. We've got the New York Mets up at the bottom of the first inning. Braves threatened. Did not capitalize. We had 2 on, 1 out And then some strikeouts there for Luis Severino got the job done. So he exits the first there with a pair of Ks. Nerfy would be on its way, as it would be 60% of the way home. Is that right? Four done so far of the 6. Let's hope that's correct. Nevertheless, I wanted to talk just a little college football because we got into it certainly with Joe, and we are now less than a month away from week 0, and you guys know the College Football Today crew will be back in action, ready to rock and roll, covering everything. And we talk about the expanded field with college football and the changes that that's going to bring to various markets, and rightfully so. The one thing for me as it pertains to everything kind of with college football and what we're going to see next year is due to this expanded field, I think it's reasonable that we see a cutoff point for what enters you into that Heisman conversation. Anybody who at any point watched the CFT knows that I don't think Jaden Daniels should have won the Heisman Trophy. Again, the swing thing that activated Jaden Daniels winning that award was Bo Nix and the Oregon Ducks losing to the Washington Huskies. And the reality for Jaden Daniels and LSU last season is, despite his phenomenal statistics and in certain spots excellent play, again, I don't think people will ever probably, at some point maybe they'll go back and look at how much the numbers got inflated against horrific opponents, but today's not that day, and it certainly wasn't during the season. But why I do not think Jaden Daniels would have won the Heisman last year if all you changed was the format was Jaden Daniels and LSU on the college football final rankings that set our field of 4. Jaden Daniels was not inside the top 12. LSU last year was 13th. And again, kind of remember that Liberty would have been inside that top 12, so they would have been not even the last team left out. That actually would have been Oklahoma. And truly, for LSU, there really would have been no argument for them in that college football playoff. You would think, now again, different world. We had a Power 5 this year. We have a Power 4. But every team in front of LSU had 2 losses or less. LSU was the highest-ranked 3-loss football team. But again, I bring this up to mention that Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy wouldn't have happened. But on the other end of it, while I don't think anybody outside of that top, let's call it just the college football playoff field, will win it, you now don't have to be top 4. So often, right, the idea is a guy has to be top 4. Bo Nix and Oregon would have been in the college football playoff had they won the Pac-12 championship game against the Huskies. Once Bo Nix lost that game, and Oregon lost that game, not putting it all on Bo, you now had, oh, look, they're outside of the college football field as a whole. Well, in last year's rankings, Bo Nix would have still comfortably been a college football playoff team. Comfortably. Their only losses last year were to Washington, who was the second-ranked team by the committee. Oregon was 8th at the final set of rankings. So now, again, it changes things a lot, right? And I know that I don't think the lesson from last year is that if you set every record under the sun, you can win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think so. I think it's that now you do not have to come from a top 4 team. So keep that in mind with these college football playoff fields here, while Dylan Gabriel and Carson Beck are on 2 of the 3 teams with the best odds to make the college football playoff. It doesn't stop guys a little bit further down the board whose team's odds aren't as strong because they're still likely to make that college football playoff. We'll talk to Dave Sharapan next. We're live with you here on Game Time Decisions.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you here. We're in the mix on a Thursday night. Happy to have you here. And we've got one baseball game live right now. That's Mets, that's Braves. That is top of the second, 2 outs. Both pitchers. It's early, but look good enough. Riley had the double, and Ozuna did draw a walk in that first inning, but Severino's clear so far. Sale, we saw 3 up, 3 down. The game in 2 hours' time was between the Angels and the Athletics. That totals up to a 10 now. If you want to get involved here, I want to just kind of click something together because I mentioned, and this is what happens, right? It's 2 bad pitchers, totals climbing. 9.5's available, though, on some books still. But there were a few guys that kind of jumped off the page. If you just went for a hit parlay of, let's just say we go Miguel Andujar, Brent Rooker, and then throw Rengifo in there, you get to around plus 150. Hey, look, I know all of a sudden you're doing a 3-leg parlay, but I'd rather be involved with something like that than some of these guys and going minus 150, right, on hits, runs, RBI. Maybe let's get a look here lineup-wise. You know, Brent Rooker with an RBI. Lawrence Butler's obviously been fantastic for Oakland in that leadoff spot. And then Andujar's a guy I'm expecting to be on base. It's that Brent Rooker RBI price here in a big-time plus 105. I mean, it's again, you're not setting the world on fire here when you consider who the hitters are, but it's also a factor of who the pitchers are. The hesitancy for me is the pitcher's sample size. 2 Rosenberg starts, and then it's the first time we've seen Stripling since May. 524. It's the last time we've seen Ross Stripling. So it almost now, and again, I don't know if I'm really going to get involved with this game. I almost now might want to flip to under 10. Right? Need 11 to lose. I understand we're not talking about great pitching, but we're not talking about superstar lineups. If these guys go 4 innings anyway, that might not be enough time to really, really touch them up. That is now almost kind of becoming where I'm leaning here. Let's bring in our guy Dave Sharapan, the consig, decked out in A's gear. Maybe makes this question a little bit easier for us late night, Dave.
Yes, sir. A's and over. That's what I got. Just looking at it.
Simple enough.
Oh, yeah. It'll be one of those ones. I don't know. Probably no one will be watching. I was going to get in the car and go down and watch this game in person, but got some business to take care of here. I think good seats will be available. I think we'll have maybe, I don't know, I want to say an entertaining game, but a game with juice, Kevin. Something for the late night crowd.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, but that's, again, another great reason to play under the 10. Right? I mean, everyone beat it maybe with an early 9, closes 10. 5-2 final, either direction. Sounds right.
Baseball's been a minefield this week. I mean, it's been, I think the Dogs went 11-3 yesterday. Day before was 11-3 to the under.
Is that the All-Star break?
Been a tough. I don't know what to attribute it to directly, but the good pitching lines up on 2 days ago, whenever it was. So it wrapped around. That was Aces Day. I used to call that in the book Aces Day. So when you get that, like Sale's going tonight, he got rained out, so he got a day skipped. But usually all those good pitchers go, today. I mean, we saw Cease earlier today. I don't even know how to mention it for the Nationals crowd here on the show. I got no hit.
Great. I don't think we've talked about it enough.
What a performance. Yeah.
Second time they were shut out in the series. The first time came on Dinger Tuesday. They got beat up in this series in a major way, the Nationals.
Yeah. Listen, this next couple days is going to determine teams' fate like the Nationals, right? I was in Pittsburgh last weekend, and I think the Buccos are in it. I mean, the Buccos got big series this weekend in Arizona, followed by a big series in Houston. And it looks like Skeens is lining up to pitch Monday, which will be fun. But Keller answered the bell. I saw Ortiz pitch an unbelievable game. The Pirates have a winning record post All-Star break. It's been a while since I could say that, Kevin. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, you should be excited about it. Let's talk about the guy for a second. I was pleasantly surprised by something in the start with Paul Skeens, and it was not that they threw him back out there for the top of the ninth. That's, again, I don't know, I've kind of been, they're not babying him. Like, we've learned that. No. They're not babying him. What I was pleasantly surprised by was his odds move after that performance in a positive direction. The FanDuel number, that's what we use as that 20-1 bar, went from plus 550 to plus 370. Look, I don't know if that's people clicking. I don't know if that's their own protection. But the fact that we are no longer in a society that goes, he lost, nightmare, and went, he was absolutely fantastic. Shame on that lineup for not hitting Lance Lynn. Move the number. The kid's a beast.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do. And it could be either one of those things. I mean, listen, there's a lot of national shows that are talking about this, and we've been talking about this here all summer for a long time. Yeah. And not that we started it, but I know we started the talk about the Cy Young. There's no question about that. So, yeah, I all this talk, about shutting him down and babying him. He threw 7 pitches and 6 pitches in the 7th and the 8th of that game. 2 really good innings. He looked physically fine. Get back out there. We're going to win the game for you in the bottom of the ninth. So tie game, he went back out there to try to, leave it to the offense to win it in the bottom, and they didn't. He left losing for the first time ever. He lost the first time ever in the bigs, and his odds to win the Cy Young went down. And then Wheeler goes and pitches an absolute gem. An absolute gem. I was like, man, if we'd have got if the Twins would have got to Wheeler, and they didn't score that day either, the Phillies, and the Phillies found a way to win, we might have been a lot closer. It's going to be there. It's going to be there the rest of August.
1,000%. I mean, listen. So it's kind of funny. I've had people, and I'm sure you've had big tickets. People reach out like, "Hey, man, what a call!" Some people have reached out to me like, "Man, that Skeens call is incredible." And I almost feel dirty getting that credit because I tell people, like, that 200-1 ticket was bet on knowing that number was wrong, but I kept screaming he won't win. The number, though, that I think you and I, it shifted. And there was a moment when he was sitting there still 60-1, 55-1. And I was like, guys, he can win it now. What are you doing with this number? Listen, the 200-1, I'll give you a pass on it, even if it was a mistake. Why are you still going double the other store when the kid's got real juice? And then he threw the no-hitter. 7 innings of work, obviously only, but and then they went, whoops, down, down, down. And now here we are. I think one of the big numbers, man, that tells the story, and look, I know it's not the end-all, be-all, but there are 2 pitchers that have more wins above replacement than him, according to Baseball Reference. I know it's not perfect, but all I'm telling you is that is a statistic that the more you go, the more you stack up.
Right.
Well, so don't tell me that he hasn't pitched enough, Dave, because clearly he has.
Oh, he has, and he's building. I mean, the books finally acquiesced and made the K prop 8.5. Tired of putting it at 7.5 with juice because he keeps finishing with 8 or a little bit more, 9. You know, so they moved that number. They had to move that number. His ERA is down to what, 1.83, 1.85, something like that. It's worth a discussion and has been for a while. The price has finally caught up to what we've been talking about. Do you like this one? I picked this one up while I was in Pittsburgh. It's not bad. Stars will stars, bro.
It's not bad. Don't take it as slander, but it's not your best Pirates hat. Yeah. That's just because you got other great Pirates hats. I think the classic Pirate red flag is really nice. We'll be right back. Game Time Decisions.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up, it's Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Live with you right here. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm joined by Dave Shire. Pam Consig, it's good to have you. So, man, it's funny. I have there are times I get joined, man, like, hey, Dave, you know, the NBA draft's coming up. And I don't really say much after that. Hey, Dave, NFL draft's coming up. You just walk like, man, leave me alone with all this stuff, right? Dave, archery, rugby, swimming. I mean, talk to me here. The process for the Olympics. I don't even know where to begin. Where did you guys begin?
I got a special hat made. The guy made a special Olympic hat for the BVB. It's an American flag and
not bad.
Gold S and all this other stuff. Not bad. As far as betting it, team sports only. That's the only in my whole life. The only thing I ever did was the team sports. Now, a lot of people will watch it. I don't know how many people actually bet it. And when we did it here, we made the mistake of trying with the Winter Olympics first in the individual sports and the different things. And it was a whole lot of work and we didn't get any action. So when we did it for the summer, we went very light and we got no complaints. So in my time in the book here in Vegas, very rarely, barely touched it. But, the basketball will get the handle. That'll be a source of discussion for the entire tournament. I think not just the men's, like the women's and like the women's soccer. Did they lose today? Did that happen?
No, they won.
Okay, they won. Okay. All right. I thought they got upset.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure.
So I've been trying to figure out, Dave, and look, I think on a day-to-day basis, we'll have some fun. We'll follow stuff. If you out there want to bet all of it, look, I'll give you what I can. Sports Rage, Gabriel Morency.
Oh, he loves
He was sending tweets out today about he was so upset that they closed the archery board before he could get stuff off. And let me tell you, he means that. But I've been trying to figure out for the not Gabe division, what are people going to bet on at the Olympics, right? And basketball, 100%, right? Because people are used to betting on LeBron and Embiid and SGA and Wemby, right? It's easier. Giannis. And then I think golf, soccer, tennis. Golf field's loaded. Yep. Tennis is Alcaraz, Novak.
Yep.
And then the soccer, men's and women's, we're right off Copa, Euros. It's a little different, but that's kind of what I figure. That's where your handle's going to be. That's my read on it, right?
100%. It's the bets that are closest to something that people already know. Like betting on the 4x100. I mean, you can make numbers, but you don't normally do that. So not a lot of people dive in. And there's a lot of fun events that I think would be really cool to bet on. Like, I love team handball. I love watching the team handball. I don't know if I would bet on it. Now, I might bet it in game if books are going to, because I feel like I would have more of a shot watching it and getting a feel for what might happen. I know the rules and I've watched it played in person. So that's different. But like one of the best moments I ever had on SportsGrid was watching the marathon, women's marathon with Gabe on the air and him having action on it and watching the woman that he had bet make a late charge. And he had a nice price and she ran out of gas. It was priceless, but it was 12-1 or something like that. And you can find a lot of well-paying bets all over the place.
So that's kind of the thing that kind of breaks my mind. And maybe the reason it's so funny, I draw to those four sports. It's not just the stars, but I don't have to learn the rules.
Right.
And then learn who the people are. Right? Like, so there's a lot of sets of work to be done. But no, legitimately, Dave, and again, I don't know, is this stuff all computerized? Like, to your knowledge, how does FanDuel have this menu? to the caliber that which they do for the Olympics?
So a lot of it's automated where you set the menu up. I could tell you how to do it. It might be boring, but you set the menu up with the names and then you input the prices pretty easily. And then it's almost all auto mover stuff. There may not be a human being even watching it because of the lack of action. Or there might be one person specifically responsible for the swimming odds or the diving odds, and they were given the preview. Or what we used to do would spend 2 days of research. I got 3 sports, you got 3 sports, not the team sports. You would get archery because you said it. I would give you wrestling because you're a wrestling fan, and I would give you judo and say, get to work on these combat sports. Give me something, and I would do 3, and we would all get together and put out a menu and, see where the chips fall.
What's very funny is you mentioned wrestling. It's one of the few not obvious ones where I recognize the name. I know who Spencer Lee is, the kid from Iowa.
See?
Right?
That's why you're doing. That's why you're the guy in the room doing the wrestling numbers.
Again, not the favorite. All right, maybe I'll just bet Spencer Lee. Right now, second odds though, right? So we're right there. All right, we're in shouting to Dave, and again, we have a little bit of time after this, so maybe you have more time to answer it.
Yeah.
How often do we get a crazy upset at the Olympics, and the books are like, "Oh no"? Is it more long shots or is it more favorites at the Olympics?
I think it's more favorites, especially in those off sports. It's the favorites.
Start parlaying and be like, I don't know, minus 250. Couldn't lose. Wait a minute, bad beat on this volleyball. We'll be right back.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here. It's Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm with Dave Sharapan. Consig, it's great to have you here on a Thursday night. And And again, people are getting set for the Olympics, and we're talking a lot about other sports, but I think we agree. I don't think it's really a debate. The basketball is going to be betting wise at minimum. I do not want to pretend that I know what the TV ratings are going to do. Right? Simone Biles might be a next level draw. I'm not sure. But from a gambling perspective, it's going to be the basketball. You can already tell it's got the most markets, right?
Correct.
Do the books need anyone but USA? Like, what's the story there?
No, everybody bets the USA, but the USA is such an overwhelming favorite. Like, the soccer, you don't want the USA to win when you're in the book. Feels kind of a little bit awkward rooting against the country, like when you're working there, but their price is, 25 to 1. When those 25 to 1s hit and are overwhelmingly dominant in the handle, they leave a mark. So they usually result in meetings and stuff. But I mean, as excited as I am for the Olympics, hopefully we'll be talking more about, next week. I mean, it's football season. I didn't see you for a couple days. I heard you talking about the Heisman. I heard you talking about all this other stuff. Big Ten Media Days happened this week. They put this big duck in the water in Indy, and, Oregon's the second choice. We went through the schedule today. Did you see their season wins, K-Dub? 9.5, 10.5. I mean, are they going to run the table first year in the Big Ten?
Listen, I always talk about this. I'm a ways away from being there, but once I'm there, I'll give you the definitive answer. But what I will say with Oregon is all the stuff that made that team so fired up and ready to beat the brakes off Colorado, at no point did Oregon realize how similar they were to Colorado in terms of how they act. Like, they put out a mini documentary of them beating up Colorado. You know who would do that? Colorado. They put a big duck in the pond outside Big Ten Media Days. That's what Colorado, they would have put a Dion statue out there. I like it. I like it. But Oregon used that as fuel to beat up on Colorado. They are providing fuel. Again, I like that, but if it comes back the other way, it can get messy. Let me ask you something quick before you get out of here. I don't know if you're on a time crunch, but we talk sometimes about how markets that don't have a no, it's not super fair, right?
Right.
NBA draft is the example I'm going to use because it was just most recent. Odds to be a top 10 pick, we had about 12, 13 guys with a minus price, right? And that's before you get into doing the calculations of how inaccurate it is. College football make the playoffs. 12 spots. Dave, there's only 7 with a minus number.
We're going to have to do a whole show on this. We're going to have to do a whole show on this.
And listen, I'm probably kind of falling into a trap, but I'm appreciative, Dave. Only 7 teams with a minus number in that market, as opposed to 15, which is kind of what I would have expected.
Yep. Well, you can't make 15. You got to take bets. They all can't get in. So you can't.
But they do it.
You want to take action.
You know they do it.
You can't. Right. So I don't know. How many teams did the Big Ten get in? This is a big discussion today on BVB. Brault said it could be 4. 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, and the rest fill out the thing. How are they going to let 4 Big Ten teams in? They're not, are they?
I'm thinking 7 SEC and Big Ten.
Okay. That's fine. But they ain't going to let 4 Big Ten and 3 SEC. SEC wins.
Why not?
They always win. No way.
Listen,
no way.
I don't know. I think you'd be – look, off of last year, the Big Ten would have put Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and then they added Oregon and Washington. That's 5. It's different.
No
Conferences.
Chance.
Listen, they're not putting 5 in.
No way.
What's the number, though? Over, under 3 flat? What's the number? How many they get in?
I said 3 max. I might make it 2.5.
I'd take your over. I don't know what the VIG is, but I would take the over.
Minus 180.
I got to put it with the golf or something. I got to figure it out.
Later.
Get out of here, Dave. In-game Live's up next. I will see you Saturday right here, Game Time Decisions.